Hi, I'm Teryl with TerylLoy.com, and I am excited to show you how we can use our templates on a regular sewing machine. I have got the ruler foot for my machine. This is actually the ruler foot portion that I recently bought for my Janome, just the lower portion, the foot part itself. The post came with my machine. I have a Janome 8900 that you see in the background. And it turns out this whole unit, post and foot, fits on my Janome 10001 quilting machine. And I did not get this same post with that machine. So there is some versatility with these feet, although I am understanding from Janome they have a couple models. So yours might look slightly different. Now Janomes are low shank machines. There are some universal feet also available for the low shank machines out there and the medium shank and high shanks. It's the low shank machines that are getting us because some of those feet are not able to handle a 1/4 inch thick template. So I was very excited when I got this Janome foot. It could handle the 1/4 inch templates just fine. Let's go ahead and put it on and we'll check it out. When I bought this foot, it came with an open-toed foot, and I believe it came with this little closed-toed foot also. These two feet were the original feet that came with my machine, I believe. I know the plastic one was one of them that came with that for that particular post. Now I point that out because I don't want you to confuse it with your darning foot. Very similar, but they are different. This is the post in my darning foot, okay? So that is not for the quilting, okay? These two would be called quilting feet, but as you can see, they would not be able to handle a template. And that's why it was so important we get the ruler foot, which has a lot more metal and looks very similar to the hopping feet on the long arms. So what I did first, as soon as I installed it, was check its size to see if I could handle it. I got 2 rotary cutting rulers, and these actually even have a little bit of grit on them, so they'll be a little thicker than a standard rotary cutting ruler, but these are 1/8 inch. So of course 2/8 make a 1/4. Put the foot down, and I have full clearance all the way around my machine. So this is what is so exciting about this foot. This arm right here is where I'm going to have the most limited clearance. And even with the thickness of a quilt on there, I'm able to use the 1/4 inch rulers just fine. Here now is a typical 1/4 inch ruler. As you can see, she goes around just fine. And I have no issues. Okay, so I got this little sampler panel here we're going to use just to play. I already started and did some work on it. We'll start by just using a ruler to stitch in the ditch. We'll call this purple ditches, and we'll put a block around here. And we'll go from there. Now my feed dogs are down on my machine, which means I have to stitch regulate myself. I'll be the stitch regulator, meaning how fast or slow I move the fabric will determine the length of the stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my corner, do needle down, needle up, and I'm doing that just so I can get the thread through the hopping foot. Okay, I do have grid tape on the back of my ruler, and I'm just going to line it up. Turns out you don't even, my machine has a thread cutter, so it cuts that bobbin thread very short. So, well, it did pull it up, but it probably won't stay up. Generally, I have not been pulling it up on this machine, and it's been fine. I haven't had to pull it up like I do on my long arm. Feed dogs down. If I want to do a couple secure stitches, I can. I'm really kind of liking this feed dog down thing. I can move this fabric around and get little baby stitches really well. I have to remember that if I want to sew straight down this purple, I still got to have the ruler about a 1/4 inch away because of the width of the hopping foot. And it turns out if I put a lot of pressure on the template to move the fabric, mostly over here, it's very easy to move the fabric, and I don't have to worry about moving them as a unit because the template is actually managing it for me. So off we go. If I go too fast, my stitches will be too long, so I have to really try to gauge my speed. And for me, a long armor, that's harder than using the template. Okay, so you can see how simple that was. But let's do something a little more complicated. Let's do a little curve cross hatching in this block. I have my arc template with a little bit of grid tape on the back. That grid tape's really key to helping you move this fabric evenly. So we'll do the same block. Now in this case, let's say we're going to do 1 inch just because it's faster. So that means that my spacing that I'm going to use is the 3rd etch line. Each one of these etch lines represents a 1/4 inch, and then the foot is a 1/4 inch, so that makes 1 inch. So if I put the 3rd line with the perpendicular line through it right on my corner. See how I have it right on the corner and approximately pointing to the opposite corner? That's the first positioning of the ruler. So I'll come here a little bit higher than the ruler. About there. And I'm going to do a little bit of overlap to secure to the new one, and then I'm ready to go. So if I just holding with the ruler even, I just move the fabric. See, really I'm moving the ruler to move the fabric. And it is just working so nicely. So I'm going to stitch down the ditch on top of my previous stitching ever so carefully. A little bit more because I want to do 1 inch. Nope, not there yet. Okay, there I am. So that etch line is right on top of my stitch line. And you can tell I have little stitches. I haven't mastered yet that whole stitch regulation piece, but I'm working on it. Whoops. I just bobbled. Sorry about that. Okay, go up that ditch 1 inch. Put that ruler on. What I bobbled was I let my foot drift away from my ruler. That was sloppy. That is a picking opportunity if this was a real quilt. Okay, let's do it again. So hold that template right against that foot and just move the template. As long as you're pushing down on that fabric. Okay, I'm gonna stitch in the ditch to the corner, see if that's enough. Nope. This pin can now come out because I have enough stitching in that area. I shouldn't need it. Need a little more. So since I don't have enough, I need to, stitch up the ditch a little bit to get that 1 inch spacing. 1 or 2 more stitches. There, see? I got that etch line back on the, maybe even 1 more stitch if I want to be perfect. There we go. Okay, off I go. Pushing that template down and against the foot at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to do it again, stitch in the ditch till I'm 1 inch away. No, not yet. There she is. Looks like I went too far now. I guess I gotta back up. Okay, off we go. Okay, pretty sure I won't get another one in up there, so I'm gonna go ahead and I can use this to help guide me down there. I'm going to stitch in the ditch to this corner, but I'm gonna try to stop about 1 inch away. We're gonna do the exact same thing going this direction. Oh, yep, almost hit it perfect. I'm gonna back up 1 stitch, there. And then there's that perpendicular line shooting towards that far corner. And off I go. So you can see how easy this is and how many possibilities this opens up for you domestic sewing machine quilters. And there we have it, one crosshatch block. Not bad for a long armor, huh? So I thought we'd try putting some clam shells in this as like a background filler in this block. So we have our inside circle template. On the domestics, you don't really need this opening, and I do now have some circles available without this opening. So if you would like those, please let me know. It isn't too hard to manage, and on clamshells, it makes no difference at all if the opening is there. But why we don't have to have the opening on our sewing machines is because we can pick up our feet as high as we, as high enough to get this under. Now this particular machine goes very high, but all the machines go high enough to my knowledge that this will fit without having to go through this slot. I'm going to start in the very corner of the space I want to put the clamshells in, so I'll do a couple secures in the corner. So this template has edge lines right here at the half point, and I'm going to line those up on my ditch. Now, of course, that's a very wide ditch on this panel, but I know, do you know what I mean? So I'm lining those up straight across, and here I go. So this becomes very simple, because now I'm holding the fabric on both sides. So I can even manage it even better. Hopefully I could even start working on getting better stitch sizes, regulating my stitches better. Hit that line. Whoops, time to move this pin out of the way. Move her down, line up those lines, go again. This is a great filler without having to worry about how well you freehand, how good your free motion is. Free motion's more skill-based. This is really just a matter of holding the template. And just keep working your way down. Oops, let's get rid of this pin. Now this particular block wasn't printed square, so the ditch goes up a little bit. So I'm gonna improvise for that. I'm gonna drop that. Otherwise my clamshells are gonna get off. They won't be in a nice row. Okay, and now we got to do that little piece left over. Okay, now we're ready to start the second row. How do we start? We put the edge line, that same edge line that goes right there through the center of the circle, on the peak of the last hump, clam, I guess it is, and then position it about 1/4 inch off the center point. And you just estimate, if that's the center point, I want to put it a little bit off, because that's my target for the next clam, is to land right on the center of that hump. But I have to set it 1/4 inch over because of the hopping foot clearance. So the template needs to be 1/4 inch over. Okay, and that's all we need to do. So as long as that's lined up with the top, the edge line's on the top, and the edge of the plastic is 1/4 inch over. Okay, make sure I'm straight. So in this case now I stitch up the ditch until I hit the plastic. And that tells me how much of this particular clamshell I need, since it's a partial. And there I am on the peak of the clamshell. Okay, now we just go back the same way we did the first row, and each time I'm lining that edge line on top of the previous row. I'm still getting little stitches, so I think I need to get braver about moving this a little faster. Okay, and now I'm lining it up. So as you can see for me, my challenge is not the templates, and I don't think that will be anybody's challenge. I think the challenge of quilting on your sewing machine is managing being your own stitch regulator. There we go, and then I would repeat the process. I could do it one more time, at least the first one. Put that edge line on top of the previous hump and put the edge of the plastic a 1/4 inch over from the center of the clamshell. And I'm just estimating. Stitch up the ditch till I hit the plastic and then come around. And I know you got the idea. Here is a completed block of all clam shells. So you can see it just goes down really nice and simple. Here I played a little bit with my melon tool. And I just started here and did a melon and spun her and spun her. I kept spinning it around and very fast. I probably did this in 3 minutes. I have to admit on this one, it was helpful to first mark some diagonals so you had a good center point and you can line those melons up pretty quick. And then over here you could see I did some other hatching. I did some single hatching and some more cross hatching. So in conclusion, I would estimate it is a lot easier to quilt on a sewing machine with a template than it is to free motion. Having tried both, I could do this very easily, and I have a long ways to go in terms of learning how to free motion. Hey, I hope this helped you out and helps you get started using templates on your sewing machine.